Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about PUBG in 2024. Is it worth it to start playing or get back into it if you've taken a break for a long period of time? Lots of people might be clicking this video and maybe have never played the game before, or maybe haven't played for 2 or 3 years and realize that the game is now completely different than it used to be. So let's get right into it. Sit back, relax, grab your coffee, and smack that like button. Let's find out if PUBG is the right game for you. Now, before we get started, I just want to say that I am a regular PUBG player. I've been playing this game for 7 years. It is the main game that I play. I have tried Fortnite, Apex Legends, Warzone. I've tried other battle royales, but I've always found myself coming back to PUBG. Having said that, I'm going to do my best to come at this from a non-biased point of view. I'm going to try and be neutral about this because I do understand that even though I like PUBG, it might not be the game for you. So let's start and go over some of the pros and cons. This video is not scripted. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, so please forgive any errors that happen during recording, and please make sure to check the comments section because I'm sure there will be a lot of people commenting any information that I might not have gone over or that I overlooked, or just extra tidbits that might help you make your decision on whether you should start playing this game again or not. So let's do a pro and do a con, so we get this started off in the right direction. So I would say the very first pro I can think of when it comes to the game is that it is free to play. Now, it's been free to play for several years, so this is going to be our first pro. The game is totally free. You can download it and play it right now on PC, console, and mobile. On PC, you can download it in Steam or the Epic Games Store. Please excuse any sips of coffee that my microphone picks up. It is set to filter out noise, but sometimes it will pick up some random stuff. I'm going to drink my coffee while I make this video, so hopefully you're drinking yours too. So the very first pro that it is that it's free to play. And because of that, I would say the very first con is there are cheaters/hackers. Now, traditionally, cheaters are people that download programs to exploit the game or use exploits in the game to gain an unfair advantage. Some of the most common cheats are aimbot, wall hacks, and ESP. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones out there too, but those are the main ones that people mention. You'll classically hear people be like, oh, he aimbotted me, or oh, he wall hacked me, which means he saw me through a wall. So auto aim, aimbot, wall hacks, those are pretty much common for shooters. Now, hackers, on the other hand, are the people that actually make the cheats and hack the programming language or create a proprietary software that is invasive and basically messes with the way the game plays out, giving the player an unfair advantage, and then they distribute or sell their cheats. So I don't know why I felt the need to explain that, but a lot of people get bent up on cheater versus hacker. Cheater, someone that cheats in video games, probably bought the hack online. Hacker, someone that actually develops the cheats. And hackers do a lot more than that. But in this general sense that we're talking about gaming, a hacker is someone who writes code to exploit the game engine for monetary gain most of the time. All right, so the game is free to play, but there are cheaters and hackers. Now, there's always been cheaters and hackers, even before it was free to play, but when a game goes free to play, it gets a little worse. PUBG does not have the best anti-cheat detection. In fact, it's been kind of a debacle. So you will run into the occasional aimbotter or wall hacker or someone using a device on console that might allow them to use a keyboard and mouse. Now, this is probably not as bad as you might think, but I think it's worse than PUBG makes it out to be. I don't think it's going to be any different from any other popular battle royale game you choose to play. You're always going to run into those cheaters and hackers, and that's probably going to be something that we have to deal with as long as we are gamers. So that is our first pro, and that is our first con. Now, the second pro, in my mind, is that there is still a large player base, even though the game is 7 years old as of March 2024. So if you're watching this video on the date it released, in about a month from now, the video game PUBG will officially be 7 years old, and it is still going strong. So yeah, it does have a large player base. It's still in the top 10 most played games on Steam, still a lot of console players, and there is crossplay between Xbox and PlayStation. So I think that is a big pro to have a large player base. Now, this game is especially popular in Europe as far as PC and console versions go. It's fairly popular in North America. I can still find matches, but it takes a little longer. Now, if you live somewhere like Australia and play on PC and console, you might have trouble. On the other side of the globe, from the United States, the mobile version is much more popular. Now, having said that, PUBG is still incredibly popular if you combine all the versions together and combine that player base. Like I said, console and PC is going to find the largest number of players in Europe. The game still seems to be like one of the top 3 battle royales in that region. Now, when talking about the player base, the first thing I think of as a direct con would be a split community, TPP versus FPP. Now that means third person perspective versus first person perspective. You can choose to play this game in third person, which is the gameplay you're seeing on the right, or you can choose to play in first person, whereas more Call of Duty Battlefield style, where you see your gun reticle instead of the camera being behind the body, the camera appears to be where your eyes are, so it's more lifelike. Why is this a con? Well, people in this community and a lot of other communities where games have different ways to play tend to be a little toxic toward each other on which way they choose to play. First-person players tend to not like third-person perspective and vice versa. So a lot of times when I stream, people will say, man, I started to watch, but because you play in this perspective instead of the one I like, I'm going to tell you to go F yourself and leave. Now, not everyone is that toxic. That's just an extreme example, but I do consider that a con. I don't mind playing in third person or first person. Either one would be fine with me, but I think it would be better for the game if they combined these two. So before you get started with PUBG, remember you have a decision to make. Do you want to play it like Fortnite in third person mode, or do you want to play it like Call of Duty in first person mode? All right, we're going to start going through these a little faster now because I feel like I spent too much time on the first few. The next pro is that there are lots of maps. I believe at the time this video is made, there are about 10 PUBG maps. The only downside, and this will be a con, is you can't choose, no map selection. Now, this is different based on whether you play console, PC, and mobile. I believe on mobile, you can still pick the map you want. But as far as PC and console goes, I believe the option to pick which map you want to play on has been removed because even though it still has a large player base, it is not large enough to actually have enough players when everyone is picking like 1 or 2 maps. So one thing I think would be good for this game is if they did map voting, but that's a subject for another video. Right now, they rotate the 10 maps between 4 or 5 maps in a random map selection every week. They change it. So there's always about 4 or 5 maps in rotation that you'll get to play. So it's awesome that they have all these different maps and you have all these different environments you can play on. But unfortunately, you can't pick which one you want. Now, the next con or pro is that this is a live service game, which means they're always updating it, making improvements, trying to make the experience better for all of the players. And that is something you definitely want. If you're going to get into a game that's 7 years old, you do not want to get into a game that's not updated anymore. Why would you want to start playing a game where hackers and cheaters have overtaken it and the developers are not doing anything? Even though I don't agree with how much they do for this game, I think there's a lot more they could do. I think they could focus on a lot more things. I am happy that they still are working on the anti-cheat software. They still make new maps. They still do events. They have streamer events. They're always improving the graphics. They're always fixing bugs. So these are all great things. You know, overall PUBG development team has definitely made some bad decisions and continues to do so, but as far as their intentions and slowly but surely improving the game, I think they've done a very good job of that. Now, if they could just focus more on the cheating issue, I think that's going to be the number one thing I see in the comments. It always is people talking about cheaters, teamers, people using third-party devices that they shouldn't. So that's the only con to being the live service game is that they just have not focused on the cheater issue as much as they should, but we already have that in our list of cons. All right, time to add another con, the skill ceiling. The skill ceiling in this game is high. And what I mean by that is that there are people who have been playing this game, like me, from day one that are very good at it. I'm not saying I'm the best player or that I'm always going to win. I'm just saying if you've played a game almost every day of your life for several hours a day for 7 years, you're going to be way better at that game than the average player. Even if you're not that good at video games, you're still going to be good at the game because you understand it so well. You have map knowledge, you have knowledge of how the mechanics work, you have knowledge of how the gunfights work, and man, you're just going to pound new people. So the skill ceiling is a problem for new players trying to get into the game. Now, you can beat the skill ceiling by not getting too frustrated and slowly learning how to play the game, which is going to involve you getting sent back to the lobby a lot. So if you do get into this game, remember, there's a lot of good players on here, and you're going to have to learn from your mistakes, which is probably the most important thing you can do when you get into this game. Learn from your mistakes, watch the death cam, see what you did wrong, and learn how to avoid that mistake in the future. That is how you get better at things, unless you're just natural born talent and you turn this game on and you play it like you've been playing it for 7 years on day one. Very rare, but it is true that some people are very talented at video games. Immediately, Shroud comes to mind because that guy is one of the best gamers I've ever seen, and it seems like no matter what game he plays, he's just good at it. So unless you're like that, unless you're Shroud version 2.7, you're going to have to deal with the high skill ceiling. Try not to get frustrated and make sure you always learn from your mistakes. All right, time for another pro. This is the most realistic battle royale. Most realistic mainstream battle royale. Now, I'm sure there's other battle royales out there that maybe have like 10 or 20 people playing them that are like some kind of military simulator. This game is not a military simulator, but comparatively speaking, if we are talking about Fortnite, Apex Legends, or Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, those are the three competitive battle royales to the PUBG title. And PUBG is much more realistic than all three of those games put together. Apex has crazy fast movement and weapons that don't exist in real life, and it's basically a sci-fi shooter. Warzone is supposed to be more Call of Duty realistic, but Call of Duty hasn't been realistic in forever, and the movement mechanics are crazy and make it super arcade-like and not realistic at all. And Fortnite, everybody knows Fortnite is a really fun game, really done well, but it is more cartoonish. So if you're looking for a shooter that's more immersive and gives you that nitty-gritty battle royale feeling, PUBG still does this. I'm not saying it is a military simulator by any stretch of the imagination. There are a ton of things about PUBG that are not realistic at all, but comparatively speaking, I believe it is the most realistic battle royale experience you're going to have, and I think that's why it's maintained a solid, almost cult-like player base that swears by PUBG and won't even play any other game. So I consider that a pro. If you are into realistic battle royales, realistic movement, slow gameplay, stealthy gameplay, if you're into stealth, if you're into tactical gameplay, PUBG is the game for you. Now, there are some really good players that can kind of exploit the system, do all kinds of crazy jumps, and you won't know what's going on. But trust me, it's not going to be as bad as Warzone, Apex, or Fortnite. And of course, the vehicle mechanics in PUBG, I have to immediately name as a con. Specifically, I'm talking about seat swapping and getting into the vehicles. There's no animation to open the doors or to swap seats. You can shoot a pistol from the driver's seat, but you can also swap seats, aim your assault rifle out the window while the car is still driving. Do you like my little illustration here? You can just magically swap the seats back and forth. And That's incredibly unrealistic, so that's a con, especially if you're into this game for the realistic aspect of it. And also the just magically morphing into the car when you push the entrance button. That's how it's always been, but I feel like it'd be more realistic if there was some kind of animation. It can be a quick animation because it would be very dangerous to get in a car if there's 5 seconds of opening the door, closing the door, putting your seatbelt on, turning the ignition on, checking the fucking oil levels and all the warning lights in your. Nobody wants to do that. You just want to get in the car and not get shot out of it. But they could add like a little 1 to 2 second animation of like whoop, whoop, just getting in the car and just driving off. But no, it's just instantaneous. When you seat swap, it's instantaneous. I don't know if you've ever tried this, and I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're driving your car and hop into the passenger seat, you're probably going to crash and die. But you can do that in PUBG, no problem. Also, sometimes you hit a little bump and the car just goes rolling. Also, sometimes a car can be going 1 mile per hour and bump your leg and kill you, send you back to the lobby, or knock you if you're in a teams game. Doesn't really make much sense to me at all, the vehicle mechanics. So up to this point, I've kept the pros and cons pretty equal, but now we're going to list off some pros that don't have too many cons to them, so the list might start getting a little more on the pro side. Again, I am trying my best to be neutral. It is up to you to make the decision on whether this game is right for you based on the information I'm providing. Okay, so there are a ton of skins and microtransactional items that you can buy. On the con side, store is not intuitive. The store and all the different ways to buy things is kind of hard to understand. Even me playing this game for 7 years, I'm not that into customization, so I don't use it much. But when I do go to use it, I'm like, what do I have to do to just buy this skin? On the rare occasion that I actually want to spend money to buy a skin, it seems to be incredibly difficult to understand how to do it. Now, people might laugh at me, people that have been using the store forever, and be like, oh, this is how you do it. You tap here, go here, switch this to here, move this over here, apply this, and then you can buy this. Okay, maybe that makes sense to you, but for somebody that's never played the game before, that is a lot of steps just involved to get a freaking gun or a skin on your gun. Now, having said that, they have tons of skins and camos and outfits and customizations in this game, so that is awesome. The skins and microtransactional items is a plus. The store not being very easy to use is a con. They do have a battle pass that they do every season, so we'll call that the seasonal battle pass, so that is definitely a plus. They have a training area where you can experiment with recoil and different attachments, and you can just go in there anytime you want and practice, so that's great. They have an excellent settings menu. I'll just call that a customizable settings menu / keybinds. You can change almost everything you want to change. Let's make this a little bigger here so we can see everything. We'll have to go down a little bit. So they have tons of customizable settings you can do as far as graphics, keybinds, aiming. You can toggle a tap or for your mouse or controller or a hold. There's a third-person aim, a hip-fire aim, and a aim down sights. Fully customizable, but the settings are a little hard to understand. So I will say a con would be confusing keybinds, but tons of game have kind of confusing keybinds, so we're just adding that in to try and keep the cons list going. All right, so another pro is that you can play in solo, duo, or squads. Solo would be 1 person, duo would be 2, squads would be up to 4 people. You can also do solo or duo versus squads. You do not have to fill your squad, which is pretty standard for most battle royales. And depending on the perspective you choose to play in and the region, some of these may or may not be available. And that is due to decreasing player base and the split that we talked about earlier between third-person gameplay and first-person gameplay. So keep that in mind when you go to play the game. I'm a big solo player, so I love the fact that I can play in solo mode. Occasionally I play duos with a friend, and every couple weeks I usually play with my supporters in squads, which is always a load of fun. So some people are more prone, like me, to play solos for whatever reason, and I like to play solo so I can interact with my stream chat a lot more. Other people may have different reasons, but you always have the option to do whatever you want. And if you really want to challenge yourself, solo versus squads is probably the absolute hardest way to play this game. And so for the very last pro, and remember, before we go to the last pro and maybe add another con or two, remember, this game has been out for 7 years. There are tons of pros and cons. We can't possibly go over all of them in one short video. So please scroll down to the comment section and leave your feedback, or just read the comments that are already there if you're watching this video a day or two after it was uploaded, because people are going to have a lot of feedback depending on how popular this video gets. I don't know, maybe it gets 2 views. If this video gets popular enough, I'm sure the comment section will fill up with people giving their own experiences and pros and cons. So the very last pro that we're going to talk about is excellent battle royale concept and gameplay. I'll just put a slash there. Concept / gameplay. And what I mean by that is that PUBG might not be the original Battle Royale, but it did do an amazing job of putting Battle Royale on the map. This game is like a mix of Arma, which is where the concept and mod originally came from, Arma, and H1Z1. Now, if you guys remember what H1Z1 was, it was that game that Dr. Disrespect and Ninja played before they were incredibly popular. They were both pretty popular, but H1Z1 was very similar to PUBG. It was a third-person battle royale, and when PUBG first came out, it was simply a more realistic version of that. But PUBG, it broke records on Steam, which is on PC, because before it released on console, it took about 9 months to come out on about 7 or 8 months to come out on console after it came out on PC. And it broke Steam records. People were playing it like crazy. And if they had done a better job at fixing bugs and advertising, it probably would still be even more popular than Fortnite. So the Battle Royale concept and the gameplay is second to none. It is the classic circle that... I'm sipping this. It is a classic circle that closes in on you, and it is always sweaty. Like, if you're watching the gameplay right now, I know you can't see at the top right because we don't have everything full screen, so we can have all the information on the screen, but this is a 1v1. We've made it from 100 players to just me and one other player, and this gets your heartbeat and adrenaline going so much. And I think this is the main reason people choose to stay and play PUBG. It is an incredibly sweaty game. Even if you're playing casual mode and you've had nothing but bots, which I should add that to the list, because this game does have a casual mode. Casual mode available. You can play the casual mode 3 times a day, and it's a great way to practice against bots. And I think it's like 80% bots and 20% real players, so it's a great way to practice. I'm glad I remembered that. But regardless of whether you're playing casual, it has a ranked mode too, so that's another pro. Ranked mode available. Whether you're playing casual, ranked, or just the normal battle royale mode, when you get down to that 1v1, 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, whatever it is, when you're the last person remaining and there's somebody else trying to win the game, this gets your adrenaline going. And even after 7 years, I usually feel my adrenaline spike. Now, sometimes at the end of the game, I'll know I'm playing against somebody that's not that good, so I'll just have my fun. But most of the time, if somebody makes it all the way to a 1v1 out of 100 people, they know what they're doing, and it's going to be a really good fight, and you don't know what's going to happen, and the zone might push you one way or force you to do something you don't want to do, or you might be that lucky guy that chose the perfect cover, and then the last guy or two are going to have to run out in the open when the zone pushes them, or go back to the lobby by dying in the blue zone, and that just gets your adrenaline going. And especially when you pull something off like crazy, like if you're the one that has to run from the blue out in the open and expose yourself and leave your comfortable cover, Oh my God. And you win that game? That feeling is unmatched. So I think excellent Battle Royale concept gameplay is the last pro of this game. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you enough information about getting into PUBG in 2024. Still plenty of people playing the game. I still have a great time playing it. I think there's more pros than cons. The biggest con would be the cheaters and hackers. I cannot stand cheaters and hackers, and they really get on my nerves. But let's be honest, that's a problem in the gaming industry as a whole, not just PUBG. And at least we have a live service game where the developers do try to do their best to fix that problem. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to smack that like button. And let's watch the end of the match and see whether I win or not. I love how that guy ran out on fire. That was a great match, and I'm glad I got to make this video for you guys. I hope it helps you to make your decision on whether you want to play PUBG in 2024. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!